Well, just when you looked at last week's game, what'd you see?
Really good effort. Really good leverage on the football. Tackled extremely well. Just in the second half, did not execute as well as we did in the first half. Took advantage of some great opportunities. The first play of the game, the fumble that Montravius caused. Just in the second half, we weren't as crisp with our execution, getting off the field on third down. I mean, there were some downs out there we left on the field, and certainly they feel the same way. So, again, you leave the game knowing that going into the game, we need to communicate better. We said that before the game. We came out of the game saying the same thing. We need to adjust better on the sideline. That was an issue, right? And so those are things that we've addressed with our players. We've continued to stress them in practice this week in preparation for our game with Jacksonville State. So those are the things that were disappointing, you know. But again, if we get that type of effort and we tackle that well and we play that well inside defensively, we will continue to improve. We played, I think, 6 or 7 true freshmen. We played 22 guys of the snaps that mattered. I mean, when the game's on the line, 22 guys went in the game and played in upwards of 15 to 18 snaps at least in the game. So there's a lot of positive in that. And so we're a team that's a young team that's going to continue to improve in a new scheme and system. So there's going to be some continual improvement in that, and we need that.
Well, being able to show those guys on film the second half of that game, and Byron and Jeff, a ton of young guys out there. How important is that moving forward that they've actually been in that environment?
Well, it is what it is. I mean, they knew going in the game they were playing, and they all played very meaningful snaps. I mean, there were upwards of 18, 20, 25 snaps in the game. And so, but again, they'll continue to improve. They're improving every day. They all hit a wall, especially young players in the fall when you compile going to class, going to study hall. All the stuff that we demand our players to do, and also practice the way we practice. We're very demanding on the field, and so those guys are working through that, you know, right now, and very proud of all of them and how they played in their first ball game of going out there against a very good football team, and playing pretty well.
Beyond the fumble recovery that everybody saw, what were some of the positives you took away from Justin Garrett and his performance on Saturday?
Well, I think, again, Justin's playing Sam. He's playing our Mike and nickel. And he's playing also our dime and nickel. So he's playing a lot of stuff. Put a lot on his plate. He's a very intelligent young man, but a guy that continues to play well in space. You know, he did a nice job. He's a very productive player for us, the most productive linebacker we had as far as that's concerned. So assignment-wise was solid. Did a nice job in the game of adjusting to some different things.
How much did it hurt you in the second half not having Carl and then later Trey out there?
Well, you know, it always hurts, but those things happen in football. That's part of the game, and you got to prepare for those situations. And I'm very proud of Rasheed Kenyon and the job he did when he came in. Played fast, did a nice job affecting the quarterback. Didn't finish on the quarterback like he would have liked to, or we would have liked him to a couple times, but very proud of his effort and what he did. But anytime you lose a guy like Carl Lawson, it's going to affect your football team. It certainly helps the offense. So we could have used him chasing Jackson down a couple of times.
How big of an impact was he just those first few plays in that game to set the tone, Carl?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's a very good player. You know, let's make sure we put him in situations where he can be successful and take advantage of matchups. We played him inside. We walked him around. We played him in a lot of different spots, and we'll continue to do so.
How concerned were you with after they make it a one-score game there at the end? How concerned are you where the offense can't pick up a first down, that you're going to have to go back out?
I'd embraced it, man. It'd been awesome to go out and win the game on defense. I mean, I'd love to have fumbled the kick return to go out on defense and make a stop, to be honest with you. That's just my mentality. You want to go out and win the game. I'm very disappointed we let those 2 scores at the end. You embrace that opportunity. I told our team at the hotel before the game, I hope it comes down to the last drive, and I hope we have that opportunity to be in the picture so they can count on us. And they need to be able to count on us. And that's the mentality we're going to have. I'd embraced it fully. Would have loved it.
Well, outside of Justin, what did you make of the play of the other linebackers?
Solid. You know, adjustments were we made some good adjustments to some things that we were getting hurt with. We didn't execute them very well, and that was disappointing. So again, that's my job as a coach, to get those guys in a better situation where they understand what we needed to be done, and we didn't do a good enough job, and that's on me. But those guys played hard, and if again we get the same type of effort, we tackle well, we play a little smarter, we adjust a little better in the game, we're going to be fine.
Your thoughts on Denson and Davis and Tim Urban, what they did?
Oh, really proud of them. I mean, and walking in that environment and So they got welcomed very quickly to Auburn and Tiger Walk and going into the stadium. And it was interesting to see their faces walking out of that and understanding what it's about and being in that environment and that type of game against a good offensive football team. So I'm extremely pleased with those young men. I mean, they all played, again, upwards of 20, 25, 30 snaps in the game. And they were productive players. And would we have liked to have had a couple plays back here or there? Certainly. But there's nobody that played in their first college football game that wouldn't like to have 1 or 2 snaps back. So when you walk out of that feeling that good about it, and also how they progress on Sunday night's practice and Tuesday's practice and Wednesday's practice, and I'm sure they'll get better again tomorrow. They all are very willing participants as far as learning and practicing hard and doing things you got to do to be a good football player. And as long as you have those characteristics, we can work with you. And they got ability that God's blessed them with.
Does it help them that they know that you have confidence in them and you can throw them out there at any point, that we're not going to hold you back just because you're a newcomer?
Well, it's helped them. They've earned the confidence. So again, to be a defensive back in this league, you've got to have confidence. You got to have some ability to believe in yourself, and it's a part of being a good player. It's having some confidence in your abilities, and they certainly all three do. And then having the confidence of the coaching staff and the situations that we put them in against good players in practice every day also gives them great confidence.
What's the situation with Josh Osey? Was he banged up or just?
Yeah, Josh has been banged the latter part of camp. He tweaked his knee a little bit. He's fine. Nothing serious. We went into the game where he practiced about half of practice last Tuesday. Wednesday was a little sore, but practice. Thursday was a little sore, but practice. Friday was sore in the walkthrough. We went into the game with a mindset in an emergency situation. He was totally medically cleared and fine, but we were going to use him in an emergency situation. Josh understood that. We need Josh to be healthy. I mean, we need him back. He's a good football player. And so we're frustrated for him. He's frustrated. We need to get him on the field, and we feel he's back, getting closer back to 100%. We certainly expect for him to play Saturday. He's a huge part of the game plan moving into Saturday.
Malzahn said that he thought Montravius Adams played his best game since he's been here. What did you think of this?
Well, I can't comment, before being here, but certainly I think he was very disruptive. I think he played well. I think he played hard, and that's the one thing that I was looking for him. Just play hard. If you play hard, God's blessed you enough ability. You're gonna make enough plays. Just play hard every snap, and he certainly has embraced that. And again, we got to put it now back week to week. Practice to practice, game to game, second to second, minute to minute. We're gonna do it all the time.
Well, what was your sense of how Blake played in his first game with you guys?
Blake Countess?
Yeah.
I thought he played well. He played nickel, he played safety, he played corner in the game, so he played a lot of spots. Very intelligent guy. We didn't really, other than the 35-yarder on our sideline in the passing game, nothing really hurt us. They had a couple third downs and a couple of them were nice throws. We had decent coverage. So, again, I think in the passing game we kept guys cut off down the field, and he certainly was a part of that.
Well, they got outside on you a few times.
It's the same. It's a power read. It's nine times for 91 yards. We played it right twice, and they gained 2 yards on each one of those 2 plays. We didn't lost leverage on the formation in 3 different calls, so it wasn't the same thing every time. And we just didn't play it very well. That's the bottom line. It's one run. It's 91 yards. You play that a little better, you feel a little bit better about yourself.
How's Casanova McKenzie been on and off the field and having split snaps a little bit?
Been fine. Been good. It's a guy that we're looking to try and get some pass rush out of him this weekend, possibly. We had that planned in the first game. We weren't really certain. We had a couple guys banged up at the linebacker position. I was concerned about splitting some reps there, but he can help us in a lot of ways, and certainly was a productive player Saturday.
What
Well,
have you
very early in your coaching career, you spent some time at Jacksonville State. What are your memories of your time being there?
Well, I was only there a spring. Back then they used to have restricted earnings. They don't do that anymore. I don't know if it was restricted or anything. I didn't make no money, so I don't know. They called it restricted. I lived in the dorm, and I don't even know if I ever got a paycheck, to be honest with you. But it's a place that's got a lot of tradition. You go back to Coach Purges and the job he did there those years, and they had some great teams, won national championships, and certainly they're doing an outstanding job now. You look at the season they had last year. Of course, Bill Clark going back there now, and where they're having Coach Gross now, they've done an outstanding job. But it's a program that's very proud, and it's got a lot of tradition, a lot of history, and certainly you feel that there when you're in Jacksonville.
Has Justin Garrett earned more snaps, or do you feel good about the rotation you had against Louisville?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like that. I feel very comfortable with 4 guys: Justin, Cass, Chris, and Trey. Those 4 guys all played a good amount in the game, and it's kind of by feel during the game, and how they practice and prepare through the week. And so I've been very pleased.
Where do you think by the end of the year the potential of Montravius Adams as he keeps going on this year?
Well, again, I think that it's hard to coach the size, the athleticism, the flexibility, and the speed that he has. He also has very good instincts in playing blocks. So when you combine all of those things that God's blessed him with, he's taking advantage of those now as far as, playing harder every snap. And that was the biggest challenge for him. There's no secret. We've told him that. Everybody knows. So to this point, again, like I said, coming out of camp, I've been very pleased with his approach to work ethic and embracing what you got to do to be a good football player. And he certainly has done that. So again, let's continue to do the things you got to do. He understands exactly what he needs to do to be a very good football player. And as long as he continues to do those things, the sky's the limit for him.
What do you want to see between game 1 and game 2 with guys like Byron, that had that experience underneath them a little bit, and then go out there and feel a little bit more free?
Well, again, play within the system and scheme. So your definition of free and mine may be two different things. So just do your job. Just line up, do your job, do what you're supposed to do, and do it real hard, do it with relentless effort and great toughness. And if you do that, we'll be fine.
Well, can you talk about the week of practice and what kind of progress you made, particularly with the younger guys?
Well, again, we've got a bunch of young ones we're playing, so I've been very pleased with their attitude and their effort and their approach to coming in and meetings and walkthroughs and practice. And I mean, the attitude has been phenomenal. So the guys are working hard. They're doing everything they got to do to try and be successful. So we just got to continue to do a good job as a staff to put our guys in situations to be successful.
Well, that's Octavius. Russell, how's he doing?
He played well. He played well. He's a really good football player. Very intelligent young man. A guy that football is very important to him, to go out and play extremely well. But a guy that certainly represents Auburn University in a first-class manner. He's a fine young man.
Well, Wednesday practice is usually red zone, third downs. When you guys are 8 or 16 on third, and hopefully they can stop them on fourth, just how much of that was an emphasis today after that game?
Well, it's always an emphasis. Certainly, going back and looking at it, and we got a little more run game on third down with Jackson in the game than we had anticipated. Bobby in his pass, so that's something we certainly looked at and need to improve on, because that was a huge, part of the game was not, converting in those situations and critical downs, and we did that in the first half. We got off the field in some situations in the first half, and we certainly didn't in the second half. But that's always a critical for us to get off the field on third down, and certainly if you make a stop, you got to make a stop on fourth down.
Well,
so we had a couple situations that we feel like going back call-wise, maybe didn't put the players in a very good situation. That's my fault. So, but the execution of the downs were very good. So from that standpoint, we got to do a better job of putting our guys in a situation to be successful.
Well, what as a defensive staff that hasn't worked together? Well, I mean, you've worked together at other times, but all of you together. Is it a big advantage to see what happened in the first game, moving on to the second game as well?
I don't know. I mean, from a standpoint of, I'm very familiar with T-Rob and Lance, obviously, and Rodney's very familiar with our system. So, I mean, I don't know that we're gaining a whole lot more coming out of game 1 to game 2. Those guys do an outstanding job. Those are 3 professional guys that do a great job with their players, for teaching and coaching our guys, and certainly give me great information throughout the weekend on game day. So 3 guys, it's not a one-horse show, I can tell you that. There's a lot of guys doing a lot of things in our room to develop our football team, and those guys are outstanding.
Do you feel good about depth after that first game, or is there any one spot you're still trying to work at right now?
Well, again, I think that, we need to have, Nick Ruffin played in the fourth quarter and played well when he went in the game. He did a really nice job at a critical time of the game. So I'm very proud of him and the opportunities. When those guys, we always tell the guys, I told our guys on Sunday in the meeting, if I opened our defensive meeting up talking about Peyton Barber, when your number's called, you better be ready to go. And Peyton Barber was ready to go. And he played extremely well. And you never know when your number's getting called. But when it gets called, make sure you're prepared and make sure you're ready to perform at a high level, and a championship level is our expectation here at Auburn. So I think our players understood that, to have that example sitting right in front of them and to see how well that young man did. So, again, I think Nick Ruffin stepped in and did some really nice things. Blake gives us so much position variety on the back end, but we got to continue to have Stephen Roberts come along and do some things for us. Tim has played more safety and nickel. So we feel more and more comfortable with Tim and the things he can do. I talked about the 4 linebackers. We're going to continue to play, anywhere from 10 to 12 guys up front, especially early in the year in the South. It's just hard. And the big guy runs out of gas, he's done. We're going to lose him for the game. And that was the biggest thing going into last week. And we actually did a really good job of subbing in the first half. We still ran out of gas on Jackson Late. Heck, I don't know if we were fish, we'd have caught him. I'll be honest with you, that cat can move. So, we just got to continue to roll guys in there, keep fresh guys in the game, and prepare for injuries and things that happen through the year, because they'll happen.
So that I think it was either the 3rd or 4th down on your final drive where obviously Rashid's in there for Carl, Nick is in there for Trey, you have President in there, Coward in there, Carlton Davis in there with the game basically on the line. Can you get stretched any more thin in that kind of a critical spot where, I mean, half your defense is either the second line of the 2 deep or not on the 2 deep at all?
It is what it is. We tell our guys all the time as far as be prepared to go in the game, and it's not just, lip service here. It's real. That's where we are. But I've got confidence in those guys to play well. We've put a lot of stress on those guys in practice situations to go out and perform well for us. And again, I look back at the game. I don't know that I look back at the situation and say, if we had had this, if we had had that in the game. No. I think given the situations, they execute a little better than us in some situations, and that's why they were able to stay on the field and we weren't able to get off the field.
How much would you like to play